Harshadi, can we start?
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Sir, give me a few seconds. May introduce about yourself, sir.
Okay.
Good evening, all. Today, resource person is Mr. M.K.D. Lawrence. He is Executive Director, Board of Investment of Sri Lanka. We are lucky to have you as a resource person. Thank you very much, sir, to accepting our invitation. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Harshadi, for your introduction, and good evening, all. Can you all hear me? Can anyone answer whether you can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
We can hear you.
You can hear, no? All right. So, how many lectures now we have followed in contract administration?
Four lectures, sir.
4 lectures. 4 lectures. Okay. So, is the screen visible?
Yes.
Right. So, maybe you have followed basics in procurement, I suppose. So then procurement planning, procurement bid preparation, and then bidding stage. So then now we have followed these basic activities, and now at the contract management stage. Am I correct? How to manage a contract?
All the procurement related issue we followed in the first semester time. So after that, in the contract management and administration, we follow 4 classes. Now this is 5th class.
This is the first one, no? Okay. So what I have been asked to do, contract management, basically managing variations. So then that is what the topic today. So, and in addition to that, I have been asked to do some negotiation skills and variation in prices. That means price escalation and price escalation formula. Those are the things today I'm going to cover, right? So then we have 3 hours. So then let's see how we can do maximum within these few hours, right? So a little bit about myself. So then I'm Lawrence Madapatha, and then I'm an engineer by profession, passed out from University of Peradeniya, and then I did masters in environment management in Katubed, Moratuwa. And then I'm a chartered civil engineer and environment professionalist. And I did procurement, high national certificate, and then diploma in arbitration. So those are the education qualification. In addition to that, I have been in the field for now 33 years. So then I graduated in 1992. So almost at the retiring stage now, right? Right. So then if we take this, why contract monitoring is needed? So we know if a contract is formed, it will become a project. It can be anything that we are going to purchase. It can be any service that we are going to get from a party, or it can be a works contract that we are going to get done from another party. So then the basic requirement of contract monitoring is the get the maximum benefit to public funds, right? So then I suppose that most of the officers are from the public service, and so then so there is a responsibility that we need to identify the needs of the people and give them better service, and then secure the public funds even if you are working in a private sector, that is also same. So because the scope is there, then anyone has been entrusted with their duties. So then within the framework, we have to see how we can perform our duty honestly with the integrity. So that is the main requirement. And then we have to get in procurements. It's about 70% of our national budget also, wherever it may be, any different agency, different department, is basically procurement. So then procurement plays a major role in all activities in the country, in our day-to-day work. So then we have to be very careful. And whenever contract is awarded, the contract monitoring is very important. So then if we don't monitor properly, so then that will lose the interest of the public, right? And then minimize the cost. The cost has been anyway identified before we award the contract. So that is called total cost estimate. And based on that, then we went through the process of selecting a bidder. And then the contract has been awarded. If it is a service contract, the service contract agreement is signed. If it is a works contract, so then works contract agreement is signed. If it is a procurement of any goods, so then there will be a goods contract going to be signed. So then now the contract is signed. Then within the contract, so we'll have to see how we are going to minimize the cost. So that is where the basic requirement that we need to discuss. And then the maintain the scope. The maintaining scope within the contract is essential for a project manager or the contract team. They are not in a position to deviate from the scope which had been identified at the beginning. So that is where the main the thing that we have to keep in our mind and understand that we can't do anything subjectively. On our knowledge, when a contract is formed, so then there are obligations that we need to fulfill from employer side or contractor side. So then we have to maintain within the scope and also minimize the risk. So then it may be operational risk, it may be the implementation risk, it may be a risk for the workers. So then within the contract period, we have to maintain the risk as much as possible. So then risk management is something that is very important in contract monitoring. And then finally end up with the high quality product. If the quality is deteriorated, then the expectations of the public will not be there. So then we have to maintain the quality right from the beginning, right? And finally, throughout the process, so we have to keep in our mind that we have to minimize the conflicts. There are situations that we have to face conflicts. Always, if two parties are working together, there might be conflicts, but we have to understand where the areas that conflicts can arise, and then to take precautionary measures in advance to control whatever the conflicts that can happen. Because if the conflicts is there, so then conflicts resolution will take another time, and then the timely completion of the project will not happen. Right. So then those are the areas that we have to keep in our mind in contract monitoring. Basically, if this is a project, so then in project management, the one area is time. The time is defined for particular project, and within that particular time, then we have to get the project completed. And then cost. So cost is very, very important, because cost cannot be changed if you are working, especially within the government procurement guidelines. So then there are certain limits that are stipulated, and we have to adhere with those cost components, even especially the estimated cost that had been approved by the authorities, and we have to maintain the cost. And then as I mentioned, the scope. The scope is the work, what we are going to do and what we are going to implement. For example, if you are going to build the 3-story building with all the components, so then that is our scope. So then there may be foundation, there may be then columns, and there may be other structural components like sets, and then different structural parts, and then finishes like plumbing, electrical, roof structures likewise. So then there's a scope that is sometimes, so then we call it bill of quantities. Bill of quantity is prepared based on the drawings drawings are prepared based on the design. So that is how the project is formulated, right? So what is contract? Contract is an agreement between two or more parties whereby each party promises to do or not to do something, right? It's like in commercial terms. So then it's a something that two parties agreeable to do or not to do, right? So then these are the areas that we will do within the contract. What we are going to do? So then during the bidding stage, so then all the activities have been identified, instruction have been given to the bidders, and then now they have quoted their rates. Now the time to sign the contract. The contract will govern with the conditions of contract. Conditions of contract. Conditions of contract have been clearly communicated to the bidders, and then based on that, only they have come to this stage, right? Then knowing the obligations of both parties, the contractor and the employer or client, then the contract will be signed, right? So then there are all these activities which have to be done by both parties are very clearly stipulated, and they have to adhere with that. Okay. And in other terms, a written or spoken agreement, especially one concerning employment, sales, or tenancy, that is intended to be enforceable by law, right? So then it can be even the spoken agreement. Then if the intention is there, so then that can be enforceable by the law. So then this is a basic definition that you have maybe you might have learned already. Then if it is the essential elements we consider for a contract, so we know that there should be an offer, right? And then once the offer is there, so then acceptance will be there, then only contract is formed. It's like that if we tell someone, okay, so I am going to marry you. So then if the marriage is agreeable with the other party, so then by the other party, so then that's the acceptance. Likewise, so then now here the bids have been called. That is then there is an offer from the bidder, and now contract is formed after issuing the acceptance letter, right? Then intends to create the legal relationship. So then both parties will be having the intention to create legal relationship, and then the valuable consideration and contractual capacity of parties. So then whether they are having the required age limit, and then disabled or not disabled parties likewise. So then whether they can do this contract, right? Then the legality objects and genuineness of consent, whether this is having the genuine consent to do this. Possibility of performance. So that is where very important in contract administration, especially in civil contracts or whatever the works contract. So we have to do proper evaluation, very careful evaluation during the evaluation stage to identify and understand whether the bidders are capable enough to do the project. Possibility of performance. If they are not in a position to perform, so then there will be problems in the contract. Then the certainty in the terms of the contract. So then we have to, these are the basic things that we can consider in any contract formulation. Should be very careful in preparation of general condition of a contract, right? So then this is where we have to understand when we prepare general conditions of contract. Basically, the general conditions of contracts are there in whatever the contract document, standard documents we are going to use. We know there are standard bidding documents. What are the standard bidding documents we can use in normal works contract in SIDA? Is there anyone can answer that? General conditions or standard bidding documents that we can use? Is there any? So then
documents issued from SIDA.
Yeah, SIDA. So then there are basically 4 types of bidding documents that we can use. SBD3 for less than 10 million, and then SBD1, SBD2, SBD3, and then SBD4 for design and build contracts likewise. So then there are SIDA documents which are freely available. So then depending on the contract value, then we can select appropriate document in which the instruction to bidders are there. And then we have conditions of contract. So then for a contract that we are going to perform, if we want to adjust anything, so then we can have general conditions of contract referring to that clause in the document, then we can do some changes in our contracts. Maybe that we have learned already, right, in preparation of bidding documents. Right. Then if we look at the how to form a contractual contract, basically identification of the project. So that is in the master plan. So then that is normally there's a new term has come in with this new procurement guideline in 2025. A strategic development plan, strategic plan. So the strategic plan is formulated for at least for 3 years. Then for any organization, then there will be a strategic plan. So then how to grow an organization. For example, if I take my organization, right? So then in next 3 years, we are going to have new 5 export processing zones, right? If it is a building department, so then they are going to have another 5-story building in 5 districts, likewise. So there may be different activities, but they can't do all these activities in one particular year, right? So then a strategic plan will be there. It depends on the corporate vision, mission of the organization. Then it comes to the action plan of that particular year, right? So the action plan of one of the organization is a part of the strategic plan. Then based on that, then we have to identify the projects that we are going to do, right? So then it may be a part of the project we are going to complete in 1 year, right? For example, if you are going to construct a wastewater treatment plant having 20,000 meter cubes of wastewater treatment capacity, or if you are going to have a water treatment plant having a capacity of 10,000 meter cubes per day, is a huge volume, and the components are huge. There are so many components. We have to start from the filtration, if it is water treatment, and then the pumping, and then the sedimentation, then flocculation, and then the storage tank, likewise. So then the disinfection, likewise. So there are so many activities in line in that particular project. Though if the volume is high, the components also very big, and then within a year we can't complete the entire project. It may take at least 2 years to complete the project. So then we have to identify the project, and then accordingly we will plan our action plan for that particular year. Clear? Then after understanding the project, then we do the preliminary design. So then I actually refresh your knowledge on the how to form a contract. Then preliminary design is something like a conceptual design. So how we are going to do it. So then it depends on the ground conditions sometimes. It depends on the time requirement that we need to complete the project. So if we want to give water within a year, so then we have to have a separate system to meet the timeline. So we can't go for conventional treatment plant. So then we have to have a special package type plant that can be even imported, right? Because the time or the public requirement is there. So then based on that, we do the preliminary design, right? And then we'll have to get the budgetary allocation. So then in order to get the budgetary allocation, even in preparation of budget for the country, so then the treasury is asking what are their requirements per year, right? So then for the next year, so then based on that, so then there will be allocation for each and every department. And it again connected with the national policy of the government, whatever the government. So then they have their priorities, and based on that, they allocate funds for different institutions, different ministries, different agencies, right? Then for us, since I'm working in BOI, we are self-financing organization, then our budget is decided by our board. There may be organizations where you are working, so then your budget is decided by your board. So it depends on, again, with your operation income that you can have, or any other interest income if you have made a fixed deposit, so there is a income from that also. So then based on that, your board will decide. So what is the amount that we can spend for that particular year, right? Keeping all other recurrent expenses, salaries, welfare, transport, whatever. So then that's one part we have to focus. And these are the capital works that we have to focus. Then budget reallocation is required. If we ask from different agencies, so then their requirements are different. But the budget committee will look at it, review very carefully, and decide. So then what is the allocation of the budget that they need, right? And based on that, they select this is the amount that we can allocate for that particular project. Then once that is done, then we'll go for detailed design, right? Detailed design is, or conceptually, if it is a building, then architectural plans will be prepared. And then there will be structural designs. It depends on the, as again, with the soil condition, or maybe the environment, if it is in the coastal area. So then what are the precautions the structural engineer should take? And likewise, so then there are certain areas that the engineers should focus, and then they do the detailed design, architectures and structural engineers. And then it comes to the quantity surveyors part, and then they prepare the estimation. And again, all these things will be checked, right? So a lot of inputs are there, a lot of professional inputs are there. So then only the bidding document preparation part will come. So then the procurement management division, again, a new addition with the new guideline. So there should be a procurement management division. So then their responsibility to manage all the procurement in the particular institution, and liaison with all other departments, maybe treasury or other line agencies, to get the job done. And not only that, even to provide training required for the organization people who are doing the procurement. So then it comes to the procurement preparation, and then we'll go for the document evaluation. So then once the documents is evaluated by the bid evaluation committee, right, then it goes to the procurement committee, and then the document is approved. Then they can go for the bid calling, right, after the approval of the appropriate procurement committee, right? And then advertising and bid receiving. So once the bids are received, then we'll have to go for bid evaluation. That's the normal system that we do. Then we have to see what are the clarifications. So then during the evaluation stage, you know that clarification is what we call anything more information from the bidder, and clarify it to get confirmation. Our evaluation will be based on the objectives of the bidding document. So we can't do any variation on any changes in our the evaluation, because we have to strictly adhere with the conditions that we have mentioned in the document. And if something we have to verify from a third party, then we can verify. So then clarification and verification are done during the evaluation. And then finally, we will obtain the procurement committee approval, then the contract award. So this is what the process that we have come up to now, right? Okay. So then the selection of right path, right time, right person is essential. So then for that, there is a huge task. These all professionals should do, having clear intention, what we have discussed in the very first slide, that is to secure the public funds and give right product to the community or to the organization in private agency. So then we have to select the best the item for that organization to run the process, right? Then we will come to this contract time management, and if we don't do the time management properly, so then what are the consequences, right? What can happen? And so then what are the precautionary actions that we are going to take on that, right? So we should keep in our mind actually that preparation of all this basic information during the contract preparation time or bidding documentation, the time is very, very important, right? That will minimize so many problems in the entire process, right? So then consequences that can be happen, adverse effect on the value of the procurement, right? So then there might be because we plan for 100 million project, but there is no value of the procurement after completing the project, right? So then for example, so then we will spend 100 million to get water. With that water, then there will be more investment coming in, right, for that area. If the water is not there, then we can't implement those investment projects. If you are going to take power supply for that area, so then anticipating that we are going to have new community system or new railway system or new investment zone, so then no power, the project is not completed, then no value, right? So then there's adverse effect, no values in the procurement. Failure on the entire project. Then ultimately there are failures. So many examples in this country. So then we have lost public funds, right? For example, recently we have been asked to do evaluation on 3 information technology parks, which had been started a couple of years ago and now abandoned. Sometimes you might have heard about those projects. One is in Galle, and then that is actually that close to the sea, and then most of the steel are corroded now. So then huge loan has been taken from banks, and the contractors also have not been paid. So then so many complications. So then government also not in a position to take action, how to do and what to do for this project, right? So with all this the loans and all these liabilities, so then what type of action that we can take? And then there's another project in Kurunagala, right? So then they have completed about 70% of the project. It's a huge construction. But again, the contractors are penalized, public is penalized, then the entire purpose is gone, right? Likewise, so then I don't want to tell, so there are so many projects everywhere, there is no the outcome, but the expectation is totally out. Sometimes it may be, it may depend on the discontinuation of governments, and then the objectives of the governments are changed time to time, right? As we know, through example, so then during one time, so then most of the money of our capital were spent in southern area during that particular the government. And once the government was changed, so then all these capital, most of the capital was spent in north central province, right? Again, then another government came in, and then they started to spend in northwestern province. Likewise, so then it depends on the vision of that particular government. So then ultimately public funds are eroded. So then the project is there, but no benefit to the country. Then disruption of both parties' efforts. So ultimately what happens? So then the disruption, so then, before the financial crisis, so many projects were done by contractors, especially very big contractors like Maga, then this ICC, Sierra. So then most of the contractors, even at top level, grade 1 contractors, grade 2 level contractors, they were not paid. Some of the road projects, I think so then there was a huge amount. They have done construction, but they were not paid, right? So then the contractor side then failed. The government side, so then the government also could not complete the project, right? Then the decreases effectiveness and efficiency. Effectiveness and efficiency is very important, that fundamentals in procurement that we discuss and we keep always in our mind. So then whether there is an effective result of that particular project, and whether we can complete having this efficiency, so then that's not there. And ultimately what the cost increase, right? Cost increases because once we are going to do it again and ask in remobilizing even the same contractor, then there will be remobilization, not the rates that were applicable during the first contract period, and it can be changed again. So then it should be because otherwise the contractor is not in a position to do that, right? So another thing, so then if the decisions are not taken on proper time, so then in a country like us, the dollar rate is fluctuating, so then is sometimes now somewhat stable. But there was a time actually dollar went up to rupee value went up to 375, 390, right? So then all the prices for importing items went up, and then a lot of escalations in price escalations were there, and a lot of contractors were struggling. right? Even there were no proper guidelines even given how to manage a situation like that. Then a lot of contracts were actually just standing still until there was a circular issued in 2023, somewhere in October in that area. Until such time, so then most of the contracts were not paid. Contractors are not paid, and the contract were not executed because of this escalation, right? Then due attention of contract administration officers is utmost important and must know their rights and limitations in compensation events. So then we have to look at the big picture, right? So then right from the beginning, keep in your mind. So then now the contract is awarded and we are the project manager. You have to be there in that basket and then work right from the beginning to get the best result for the project, right? If we do not complete the project on time, so then there is a issue. Ultimately, what happened? Erode the value of the procurement process, right? So then professionally, so then there is no professional input. So then that is what ultimately happened, right? Then types of delays in contracts. So then there are two types. One is excusable delays and then non-excusable delays, right? So there are delays that can happen either by the contractor or the employer or client. So then which are excusable and some are non-excusable. We will look at those. Excusable delays. So then we have two components again, non-compensable delays, right? And compensable delays. So then provide contractor protection from sanction for late performance such as default termination, liquidated damages, actual damages, and excess cost to delays, right? Then if it is compensable, so then the excusable, so then the contract is having a protection. Then we have to understand what is that, right? So then whether he is the excusable for that, right? So that's the responsibility of the manager to understand properly and give him the right direction, right? Contractor is responsible for any increases in cost to perform the contract within the completion date or extended date allow for the delay. So within the contract is responsible for any increase in the cost, right? So then if there is anything that he needs to argue, right? So then there's something that we can go for adjudication or arbitration, but he has to perform, right? Procuring entity is responsible for cost and time delays that it causes has under its control or for which it has agreed to pay the contractor such an accelerated delivery if an excusable delay is granted, right? So then it's something like a ceremonial opening that is fixed, right? So then the employer wants to expedite the process, right? Then in which, so then they have to agree to pay to the contractor, then because he has to deploy more machinery, right? More equipment. Then his time is fully devoted for only for that project. Sometimes he will bring people from other projects and deploy there to complete the project because of that particular client's requirement, right? So then likewise, so then there are compensation, right? So then the without change in the time, but it's not the original the agreement, right? Original agreement, but there are certain areas, certain the situations, the contractor and the employer has to sit together and discuss and perform to meet the targets. Okay. Then excusable delays, non-compensable. So then what are those? Unforeseeable delay that go beyond the contractor's employers, the contractor and employer. Act of God or public enemy, right? So then it covers in force majeure. So there's something like earthquake, nuclear explosion, pressure waves, war, act of foreign enemy. So then normally in our country, so then this type of things are not there. But in general, these are things that can happen. But there are certain situations. So then even in any of our contracts, so then we can consider force majeure situation. Then both party go through the conditions in that particular clause and which is stipulated there in the contract agreement. Then we have to understand the situation and then those are not because it cannot be controlled. No? If it is an earthquake, so what to do, right? So then it's not responsibility to the employer. Then it's not a responsibility of the contractor, right? So then whenever, so then it comes to the normalcy, so then again the contract has to be started. And on a sympathetic background, or there is another subject, I think you know that how to manage contractual claims, right? So then in such scenario, then the employer can take decisions with the approvals of all these responsible parties, whether the contractor will be compensated or not, even for this type of situation. Other than that, there won't be changes. Act of public agency in either its sovereign or contractual capacity, or sovereign act is defined as an action taken by the common benefit and to enable or ensure the health, safety, or welfare of its citizens. Example, security forces close roads for a period of time due to security reason. Provincial health security announced to close services. Disaster week has been announced. So then we experienced this during COVID time. 2020. So then the most of the contract was standstill. So then we couldn't continue. No people were there, right? So then it's not a problem of anyone, right? So then once the contract is start, then again we have to look at the timelines, and then the no any changes in the prices. So then the contractor has to perform, right? There is no compensation for the delays. Then excusable, compensable delays, it is again according to the clause number 44, condition of contract SPD1. Contract is entitled for time extension and compensation both, right? So then employer does not give the site. So these are the examples, right? For example, so then now contract is awarded, right? Contract is awarded, contract has gone to the site, but site is not ready. Employer has not given proper access, right? These things are happening, right? I know in one of the projects in the highway construction, then when contractor went to the site, so then the employee has not removed some of the houses along that particular stretch. Then then contractor wanted to get time extension and also compensation for what is losses, right? The employee changed the schedule of other contracts and made effect. So then, for example, so then if you are going to do a pipeline contract within a road, alone a road that we are in the process of completion, and then pipeline contractor come into the site and the road district has not been completed, then again there should be then changes in the schedules, right? So then the contractors can be affected, right? That because of poor management in the previous contract, and so that will affect to the new contractor. So then again there is a compensation. Other utility provider or employer, same, right? Because there is no the utility at the site. Employer requested power supply, anticipating that okay, the contractor will come for the building construction, so then he needs to get the power supply. So then there's the employer's responsibility with the power up to the site, up to the boundary. But unfortunately, there was a delay. It may be a reason of Ceylon Electricity Board, but beyond the control even by the employer. But it's not actually the problem of contractor, right? So we have to make sure everything is ready before commencing the contract. Engineer does not issue drawings specification on time, in spite the contractor has requested. So then these are the things which are happening normally. Sometimes some of the organization do not get much serious on this, right? We know that there are two set of drawings, right? During the bidding period, so then those drawings are called preliminary drawings, or which are used only for bidding, right? Even during the pre-bid meetings and in between communications, there may be changes. Those changes should be added into the drawings. Now very easy. Now actually we have AutoCAD and so many softwares the draftman or engineers or architects can use. But when we started our design, so then we had to again go to the drawing board and draw everything in a tracing paper, and then we have to change from the original drawing, which had been issued with the bidding document, to the contract drawing. So then we put a seal contract drawing. So that the drawing which is going to be used in the construction, right? So then that part had not been done by the engineer on time. Then there's a dispute, and then contractor is entitled for compensation for that. So then even maybe 1 week, 2 weeks, so then even 1 week, so then his people are there, machineries are there, right? So then how to manage it, right? So then these are the changes that can happen, right? Ground condition of the site is substantially changed than the bidding stage. These are again can be happen. So then if we have not done proper soil investigation, right? Soil investigation, and then anticipating that there is no any rock underneath, and then the soil is very hard, right? If you have missed to do that properly, if it is large area, sometimes we do only 1 or 2 boreholes and then understand the underneath the soil parameters and take a basic design and prepare the designs. But ultimately, once the job is started, then a lot of consequences come, right? Then no way that we can't deviate from that. We have to improve the ground condition and go for the required the standard footing type of changes in foundation, right? Recently, there was a case came to us. It's not construction related. So we have given a land to one investor. It's a Japanese investor. So then this land was in one particular zone, and then earlier that land was used by a marble factory, right? A marble factory. The marble factory, you know, in marble cutting and grinding, there's a dust coming in, very fine dust, right? It's like a silt, which is out from the operation and which is mixed with water. It's like a slurry, right? It's like a slurry. So then there is no any method to manage it. You can't keep that is out away from the zone. And then there is another area adjoining to that particular 2.5 acres. It's about 1 acre land. Then which was given to this particular company to dispose this slurry with a dam, and so then that is not spread to the outside, but that is how it was managed more than 20 years. Then after 20 years, so then there was a problem. It came with this bilateral value cap system that was not imposed during the early stage of the investment, but later another country decided, the country where these products were exported decided to put a value cap, additional tax on the product. Then that project could not be continued, and then that was terminated with mutual understanding. And finally, this was given to a new investor from Japan. When they go to the site, then they started construction. It's a huge project. It's about $24 million investment, huge. And then it's going to be 3-story building. So then how they are going to put this 3-story building on that land where the slurry was disposed and dumped, right? Then it's not actually the contract, but again a contract between BOI and the investor was signed, and so then we have to give him a proper land, right? So then, but if they are going to do this construction in a land with a very poor soil condition, then they have to go for different type of foundations. It may be pile foundation, or maybe remove all this soil and send it to somewhere else. Again, it has to be environmental friendly disposal. A lot of things to be planned. So then we have to compensate for that. So then we thought of consider that, and because we need to get the $24 million investment to the country and satisfy the party who are going to invest here, right? It will be 500 new employment coming in, right? So then a lot of factors in the economic terms, right? But that's what happened, right? So then that was unforeseen. So then no one, because earlier that was happened. But on top of the ground, very good soil coverage, and then what is called this grass and the bushes and all these things are there, the good greenery, but ultimately when they started construction and the excavation, then only understood that there's a poor condition. So these are the things can happen, and then we have to excuse, and then we have to go for compensation, right? Engineer give an instruction for dealing with unforeseen condition caused by the employer. But I told, right? Similarly, so that there may be situation in projects, right? So many things can happen, right? So many things happen. So then, but the most important thing, we have to understand how to evaluate that properly in the site. That is where the professionalism comes in, and that is where your experience comes in. That is where your expertise comes in, and then get a proper understanding, proper idea on that, and then take a decision, right? Another thing, then the advance payment is delayed, right? So then this continuation, so then it goes to a variation, right? Ultimately, it goes to a variation. It may be a time variation, it may be a scope variation, right? So then that's why the proper planning has to be done right from the beginning, right? So the even advance payment is entitled for the contractor to commence the work. So then we have to release the payment within the time that we have given in the contract document. So otherwise, so then there's a delay. An effect on the contractor as the employer's risk, right? So then if the employee is having a risk, so then if it is causing any effect to the contractor, so then that has to be compensable, and that has to be compensated. The employer delays monthly payments again during the contract period, right? So then it can be affected. You can understand the gravity of this scope or the time or the quality, whatever for the project throughout the process. It is interconnected. It is interconnected. The payment should be there on time, right? No one cannot keep the payment without certification until the contractor beg behind and asking for the money, asking for the payment. So then what a poor culture sometimes some of the people are practicing, right? So then it's sometimes very bad to see that these things are happening, right? So then contractor is a person who is going to perform for us, right? So then we have to look at his side. Sometimes we don't feel it. In offices, we don't feel it. Okay, so then I will take check in next month according to the conditions of contract. So then we can keep interim bill for 28 days. So it's okay. But if it is a simple payment, so why can't give that in advance, having good mind, and then contractor will be happy. Then he will come up with new works, and then he will work enthusiastically. So that's the mentality we have to create, right? An engineer unreasonably delays issuance of COC, certificate of conformity. So then without that, so then he can't go for the final claim. So then that is very important. Engineer orders additional test which has not defect, right? Which has no defect. So then if there is no defect, but engineer takes control, and then he should do that, you do that, you do this. So likewise, so then give different orders, right? Without having intention of the penalizing him or not. So then, or maybe sometimes engineer can't take decisions based on the available testing. So then he will go for some other test. Engineer instructs suspend progress of part of work. So then these are actually things that can happen in a site. It changes the process of the contract. Engineer decides how much contract price to be increased and time to extended. So then in such situations, so then we'll have to take decisions. So then contractor is compensated for that. Excuse for compensable delays. Contractor may be able to receive compensation for increased cost as a result of delay after consideration and documentation of the following factors: the cause of the delay, the impact of the delay upon the contractor, the compensable contract provision. So then whatever it is, so then the in contract management, maybe you have heard the number one is also keep the records right from the beginning. So then we have to keep the record. Number two, also keep the records properly, right? Number three, also keep the records properly. So then recording everything at the site. During our early stage, we use what is called there were books like triplicate books, sometimes duplicate books, right? So then orders are given and recorded, and then one copy is taken by the consultant or engineer, and then otherwise with the contractor. And then there continuous progress meetings were there. So then all these meeting minutes were recorded, and so then then those are the documents which can be shown even to get any compensation, right? So then we have to maintain records. Then excusable, compensable delays. General requirement for consideration. The delay must be beyond the contract control of the contractor. Whether contractor has not foreseen the delay. The delay could have been prevented? Not the fault of the contractor, but due to some other contractor. So these are the things we discussed, right? For supply contracts, a delay is not excusable if they can opt, if it should be they should be, there's no why. So then if they can, I will correct and send the presentation to you, obtain supplies from other sources, right? So these are the options we'll have to see. So then, but if it is not possible, so then we'll have to see what are the options that we can consider, either to extend the contract or wait, the supply will come in 1 or 2 weeks or few months. So then if even the alternative supplies are not available. Then non-excusable delays, again, contractor assumes the risk in providing the necessary amount of planning and effect to complete the project. Lack of knowledge on the work, financial difficulties, lack of equipment and facilities, lack of materials, labor shortage, controlling strikes, reasonable delays proceeding avoid, right? So then these are actually that non-excusable, lack of knowledge on the work. So then it's his fault, no? So he should take the good knowledge on the work, right? Then if he has not financial the capability to do that, so then it's his responsibility, right? Then he doesn't have equipment. He should have a proper roller. It may be a vibration roller he needs, but he's going to use a normal roller, right? So then he cannot achieve the quality that we expect, right? You know, in soil compaction, there are certain compaction equipment that we need to use depending on the requirement, right? If it is a dam construction, we use sheet foot rollers, like so. Then if because the soil condition is different soil condition, we are using for earthen dam, right? So because where the clay content is somewhat high, that is called liquidity status, plasticity index. So then there are technical terms. I'm not going to talk those, but much. But likewise, so depending on the quality of the material, so the equipment to be used also different. So then if those equipment are not with the contractor, then it's his fault, right? Lack of materials.
Excuse
Yes.
me.
Yeah.
What if there is a material non-availability in the local market? What happened then in the contracted site?
So then is again, that is what I told. So then if the material is not available, so then that is beyond the, we have to do the real assessment for whatever the material. For example, I'll give you example. We had the contract that we awarded to import some of the items, and that is actually during that time what happened was, so then dollar rate went very high, right? Even the local materials are not available. That type of materials are not available in the country, right? There were 2 contracts we handled during the financial crisis time. Then the contractor entitled for the compensation, right? So then we have to give him time extension, and even for the material fluctuation, the price fluctuation that what he's going to get. So then, but you have to have a proper assessment on that, right?
Yes, sir.
Got it, right? So
Yes.
then for this importing contract, actually that was a huge variation. Original contract price was 913 million, where 500 million worth of materials we had to import from different countries. Then the dollar rate at the time of contract award is 185 rupees. And when the contractor went to open letter of credit, LCs, then the dollar rate has gone up to 370. Then a lot of arguments came between contractor and the employer. And the contractor was asking to pay him in accordance with the conditions of contract, in which he is entitled to get the real dollar rate. There was a clause actually within 14 days he has to open the LCs. But he was not in a position to open the LCs. Bank did not open LCs because of the dollar crisis the country faced. Can you remember? So we had a serious dollar crisis. We
Yes.
couldn't, right? So then what happened was, so then there was an argument between, it took nearly 1.5 years for us to settle this variation because different arguments were there. Ultimately, I had to went to the cabinet and through this cabinet appointed, this special appointed cabinet procurement committee. And then finally we got the approval. Now the contract is again started. But you see the consequences, right? Original contract period was 1.5 years, right? It took nearly 1.5 years to take a decision. Then another 1.5 years gone, right? Altogether 3 years. To complete the project, they requested another 9 months. Then it may end at least after another 1 year. So then that means 1.5 years, another 1.5 years, 1 year, 4 years gone. Because of the averting the risk of some of the people, they did not want to take a decision, even though a lot of justifications were given by the technical evaluation committee members and then the person who is handling all these things on the ground, and many people, but ultimately the decision makers were reluctant to take decision. Ultimately, it went that much of time extension, right? So then ultimately the contractor for this particular contract got the compensation. He is entitled for that, right? But we knew it, but decision makers were not in proper understanding, and then it took time what to do. So then we can't blame anyone, but that's the level. So then there's another one, as you asked me. So then there was a cladding contract. So we awarded either to purchase from the local market or go to the export market. And then that type of cladding, that is actually fire rated cladding, which were not available in the site or country, then again it took time, right? It took time. Ultimately, so then we understood that the contract is compensable for the things. And then when it went to the chief accounting officers level, that is secretaries level, then again it was reluctant to take a decision. Then ultimately what happened was that contract was terminated, right? So you know the termination of a contract is very, very painful process, right? Because one side the contract is penalized, other side the procurement entity is penalized, and then again we have to start the process right from the beginning, right? It's another serious thing that we have to consider. Okay. So then just to give an idea, so then on the basis of FIDIC conditions of contract, so then these are the areas. I'm not going to take one by one, but you can read those. Delayed drawings or instructions, right? Whether the time, yes. Cost, yes. Profit, yes. Right. Right of access to the site. Time, extension, yes. Cost, yes. Profit, yes. Right. And then unforeseeable physical conditions. Time, yes. Cost, yes. Profit, no. Right. So then likewise, so then the depending on the situation, the FIDIC conditions of contract shows the how this compensation can be done, right? There are certain things that the silent. So then in which we have to negotiate. We will come to negotiation also at a later part of today's lecture. So then how we are going to have a negotiation with a contractor or good supplier, right? So then that's also part of variation, part of changing of a scope, right? So this is how it is mentioned. So test on completion, for example, so then interferences, time, yes, cost, yes, profit, yes, right? Contractor to search, then it's his obligation, then no time extension, then he has to search it, right? And cost depending on the result. Likewise, so then and then period to be taken into account for evaluating additional cost. So this is where you can see the graph there, and then the monthly expenses, and then there's a time that delay suffered, right? Then actual cost has to be calculated at the time of this delay. Then we have to take actions to calculate. So then what are the machinery, the idling, right? What are the people idling? Likewise, so then actual cost has to be calculated at the site, and then there's a time, and then ultimately there should be a time extension also based on this particular time that has to be given to the contract. Right. Okay. So this is how then the time management. So then not taking effective decisions or proper planning at the beginning affects the contract. Okay. Any question? Are you clear what I'm telling? Is my speed
Yes,
is too high, or is it okay? Am I speed? No. You can understand. Am I correct?
Yeah, yes.
It is okay, sir. Yeah, we can
Right.
understand.
All right. Because since the time is limited, because I asked whether whether this 3 hours is the only time for me to complete all these segments given, right? Okay. Let's continue. Modification to the contract. Why? To extend the contract, to change the duration of the contract, to change the quantity items that fall under the scope of contract, to add additional items to the contract, to change the payment terms of the contract. So in that, all the parties agreement is essential. This is where these negotiations comes in, contract negotiation, right? So then if there is an extension is required for the contractor, so then you can have a proper negotiation, understanding, discussion, and then take a decision, right? Duration also can be then changed sometimes. So then, okay, employer says, okay, we'll give you time extension. You have to extend your performance guarantee, but there won't be any changes in the rates. You have to work according to the rates already you are given. So likewise, so then we have to take a decision, right? And how to manage in a situation like that. So then the clauses are there in the conditions of contract. When the employer wants the contractor to furnish before the intended completion date, engineer will obtain price proposal to achieve the target. Right. So then likewise, so then conditions are there. So then the contractor can manage the situation. Right. Then again, there will be a discussion going on, right, between the engineer and the contractor, and then finally employer can give that approval for engineer to proceed. If the employee accepts the proposal, intended date of completion will be adjusted accordingly, right? So then that can be a change. The accepted price proposal is incorporated with the contract price and treated as a variation, right? So then that will be considered as a variation of the contract. Additional works which are not in the scope, right? So it's a modification. For example, so then we are going to construct a road, and then there will be a addition comes because of the poor soil condition in 1 kilometer. So then there will be addition. Then that will be added to the total job, right? So then according to, so then there will be a scope change. Can be issued at any time before issuance of certificate of completion by the engineer. It can be at any time, right? So then contractor should do that. He can't say, no, I can't do this. So then that's not possible. So then it's his obligation, right? Any extra work, so then which is going to be given to him, so then he should perform. Engineer can issue variations less than the sum specified in the contract data. So then we know that contract data, so then variation sum is there. So then even in the procurement guidelines, so then there's a physical contingency component. So that's normally 10%. And then financial contingency component is there. So then depending on the procurement committee level, Ministry procurement 12.5%. Likewise, so then it reduces up to the department procurement committee level. And then based on that, we have to take decisions. For any exceeding the limit, employer's prior approval is required. If there's any exceed, so then again in the new guideline, I will come to that side. I included the one slide there. So there are new things that we need to do, right? Contractor shall bound to execute each variation unless contractor promptly gives notice on his inability. Right? Variation unless contractor promptly gives notice to inability. Normally, this is not happening. So then we ask contractor to do that. If he says with a reasonable ground, then in advance, then the employer can think of a different system of doing it. Recently, in one of my contracts in one zone, so then we laid actually pipeline. So then we wanted to have we wanted to have actually a corrosion erosion control system there. So then we suggested to go with the Gabion wall, but contractor, because that was introduced at the final stage, we did not expect that much of erosion, but finally we want to go for a Gabion wall. Then contractor said, now the time is very limited for me to complete the scope what we were given, so I can't do that. Then we had to go for an alternation, and then to take another decision because the timeline was very fixed, and then contractor also another thing. So then variation limit is almost at the upper threshold, and then if it is more than that, again you know the consequences. They will have to go with the process of taking approval from the chief accounting officer, and there will be a lot of committees involved in that. So then we had to take alternative decision for that, right? So then that is where this the negotiation ended, right? And then finally both parties were happy. Then we went for an alternation, right? Each variation may include change to the, so what are the variations that can be? Changes to the quantities in the BOQ. So then we know that there are certain quantities that had been calculated, and then that is included. But if you don't have proper idea in preparation of the BOQ, then there may be variations coming in, right? Then we have to understand very clearly. So then there was a case actually removal of mud in weir construction across Mahavaya many years ago. So then where this the quantity was not properly measured and included in the BOQ. Then a very small quantity was there in the BOQ. Contractor was very smart, right? Contractor was very smart, and he quoted a very high rate for that small item. Very small quantity, no? Very small quantity, but he was very clever, and then he understood that there will be a variation because, you know, in a river, now we are going to construct a dam across the river. What happens during the rainy season? River water level goes up. There are a lot of the floating particles comes in, and then muds are there. Then all these things are deposited after the flooding time, right? So then it's not the time that you are going to construct the dam. Maybe 1 year before we plan everything, but at the time of execution of the job, the total scenario is changed. Ground condition totally changed, right? Then contractor knew it, and then he quoted a very small rate. Ultimately, he got compensated with the higher rate, right? Then he had to be paid for that, right? So then that is why we have to be very careful in preparation of BOQs. That is where this actually prepared by 3 people are involved in, no? Prepared by, checked by, recommended by. In BOQs, payments, everywhere 3 people are involved in. And finally, it comes to the approving authority, so then approved by. Approving person is not having actually much authority or the responsibility. The responsibility goes between other 3 people, right? So then the preparation of BOQ is very important. I can tell a lot of examples, but with the time, so then you can get because basic understanding. So then,
Excuse me.
yeah.
Excuse me. Actually,
Yes.
who is the responsible person for the preparation of BOQ? Quantity survey or the engineer? Who is the responsibility to take?
It depends on the organization. Normally, BOQs are being prepared by the quantity surveys. Quantity surveys. It depends sometimes. Actually, that QS profession came into action somewhere in 1992, right? There was no quantity surveys, qualified quantity surveys before that. First batch was passed out in 1992. And then before that, actually, the quantities also were calculated by the engineers or diploma holders. That is how it was. Even right now, in Dubai and Bahrain, all these Saudi Arabian countries, most of our engineers are doing and technical officers like NDT holders, diploma holders, NCT, all these people are actually doing a very good job there as quantity surveys, not only BSc qualified quantity surveys doing the job, right? So then it depends on the organization. Yes.
Sir, excuse me.
Yeah.
I am working in Qatar actually. Even we
Okay.
are working for some tender project in Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
But we are receiving the tender documents to price like a lump sum basis contract. But
Yeah.
if we compare with the tender documents, there is too many difference coming between the quantity and the tender documents, the drawing and
Yeah.
all the things.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is major difference. But they are
Okay.
giving one item tender adjustment page. They are writing all the responsibility to take their the provided quantities tentative, and all the responsibilities go into the contractor to check the quantity and verify and price as a lump sum like that.
Okay.
So this scenario, they are giving the limited period also. We are not having enough time, like for 1
Very
month
tough.
or 2 months. Yeah.
Very tough. Very
So
tough.
this situation, how we can manage?
So that is again the negotiation, no? You have to come to a negotiation and change your agreement properly, right? Because otherwise, so then what we can do is understand the risk of it and then go with the higher rate of your your job, right? It's a risky thing. I know that sometimes. So then, if you go with the higher rate, so then your lump sum contract will be losing. It will not come to you, isn't it? Right? So then some
Yes, of
people
course, sir.
some people they don't like to change it, no, right? Very very tricky situation. But anyway, so then what the first thing, whether we can see whether we can go with the negotiation even for lump sum contract with reasonable the background, so we can go for a negotiation and come to a conclusion, right? There is a possibility. Other things, so then we go with alternative techniques. Alternative techniques, either go with smart bidding or maybe uses smart bidding. So maybe we have to use some other resources for different items to maintain our profit margin. So those are the two things that I can recommend. So then one lady was asking another question. So then the quantity surveying. Why did you ask that question?
No, sir. Even though the BOQ is prepared by the quantity surveyor, the engineer will have to check quantities and other specs, specifications, restrictions, etc.
Yeah.
So that's why I asked that questions. Actually,
What's your name, Ganga?
yes,
No, actually the thing is here, what I recommend you, this is a teamwork, no?
yes.
Right? This is a teamwork. So no one is perfect. That we have to keep in our mind first, right? That's why three people are involving, right? So then no one is perfect, no one is superior, right? Either quantity survey, either engineer, either architect, whoever. So then it's a combination of work, teamwork. Because the specification or the imagination comes from the architect. So then his idea is only there. Then the specification have to be prepared by the engineer together with the architect. Then the quantity surveyor, then he should get all these things into a document and prepare it using his because there are techniques used by quantity surveys, right? Again, there should be another third party, as you mentioned, to check it. So then my recommendation is a teamwork. Normally, it's not happening, right? People always try to keep only their position and right. There are people like that, but go with the teamwork, right? Okay, change to the level, position, and any part of the work. Omission to the work. Any additional works to the work. Any additional works including test, boreholes, etc. Contract is not supposed to make changes to the permanent work unless engineer instruct to do so. All variations should be included in the updated program submitted by the engineer, right? So payments for variations shall be done in accordance. There's a clause. So then there's a area that how to manage the variation. So then we have to go for such variations to pay the contractor according to the conditions of contract. Don't worry about these clause numbers. So then whatever the document that you are going to use, so then there are different clauses. So then that is the applicable document for that. Right. So then according to the new guideline in Sri Lanka, so then I just got few points for your knowledge. Then the procuring entity responsible for managing contracts within the contract price. That's obvious, no? So they have emphasized, right? They have emphasized here. So then there's a responsible procuring entity. Appointment of a variation review committee, VRC, that was not there in the previous guideline, right? So then previous guideline that was not there. So then there's a VRC came in, appointed by Chief Accounting Officer or the Administrative Officer. Aggregate variation up to 7.5% of the contract award price and less than the DPC, PPC threshold. AO, HOD, PD may approve change request on recommendation of VRC, right? So then there should be a variation committee, review committee. So then there may be 3 people or composition will be decided by the procuring entity. So then that document also should be there at least before the final payment, those process to be completed. When variation is less than 7.5% and variation amount is exceeding the threshold, variation request shall be submitted to Chief Accounting Officer. So then for different variations, so then according to the procurement threshold limit, so then there is a percentage. So then if the amount is exceeding that, it has to be submitted to the Secretary or Chief Accounting Officer. When the variation exceeds 10%, AO shall forward all relevant documents with AO's and VRC recommendation to the Chief Accounting Officer to obtain approval from the appropriate PC. Such PC not necessarily be the that handle the original procurement. So then that is what happened to us. 10%, no 10%. It went more than 50%. Oh, it's about 60%. So then we had to went through again the process and then went to the Chief Accounting Officer. Then Accounting Officer was changed because of the government change. Another Accounting Officer came, he was changed. Ultimately, new procurement committee was appointed, and then that committee fortunately took very strong decision because there is a huge environment pollution there, which can be happen if we are not going to complete the project. And then finally, they took a clear decision. Once received the approval for variation, CO, AO shall take necessary action to revise T's total cost estimate where necessary. Finally, once the variation is approved, it has to be added and then it has to be submitted to the required authority and get it approved. For our case, so we went to the cabinet and got it approved. So then likewise, depending on the procurement level, so we have to take decision. When variation threshold exceeds MPC threshold, such request forward to the Cabinet of Ministers. So then that is what my example. So then there are so many examples within the particular limit. So then you may think that there is a conflict between the responsibility of the engineer where he is in the site and he has to take decisions up to certain limits. So then earlier that was 10% of the contract price, he can approve variations. Still that is there because the condition of contract is there. This variation review committee is something addition comes to there because actually I clarified from the procurement commission also. So then whether it's going to be a conflict with this VRC, but we were informed that there won't be any conflict. The engineer can continue the job, but in the meantime there should be an additional committee. Why all these conditions are there? What they said was so then to control malpractices and then control the cost and give a due focus for bid preparation, preparation of BOQs, drawings at the beginning. Actually, the planning of a contract or planning of a project is the most difficult thing, right? It depends on the experiences. Sometimes we don't do that. You know, in procurement cycle, we normally have a bullet lesson learned after doing everything and then lesson learned, and then once again we will go with changes and amend the document. But sometimes we don't do that. We don't do that. Again and again, the same document will be continued. So then these are the things I think we have to inculcate and do better practice. So then it's like a continuous development always. Continuous development. So then once you develop, so then even still we are learning, right? So then even though we have been in the field for many years, so then there are many things that we can learn, right? There are many things that we need to learn because it's a changing day by day. There is no any rule in this is where like that you have to stop like no. So then it can be changed depending on the requirement of the country. There may be policy decisions, right? So then depending on that, we have to include and work. All right. Then we'll come to quality management. And so what are the things we can do in quality management? Essential activities to be focused. Preparation of proper specification and drawings is a must, right? It's a must. So they need, for example, so then we need to get an aerator. You know, aerator is an instrument which provides air for biological digestion in wastewater treatment, right? If you can remember this prawns cultivation, prawn farms, so then that again something like floating type aerators, So then it rotates horizontally and get air from atmosphere and then gives to the water. Then in water, then dissolved oxygen level is maintained, and then prawns can live easily and happily. So then because they are the foods are there, then oxygen are there. So then if the oxygen level is not there, then they will be died, and so then they are not in good form, right? So likewise, in a biological wastewater treatment, that biological wastewater treatment is done by bacteria. Bacteria cannot be seen by our normal eyes. So then tiny insects type people. So then they are the species do this digestion, do the treatment, right? And then finally water is purified. For that we need to provide oxygen. That is called oxygenation. And then with this oxygen, dissolved oxygen in the tanks are maintained, and then we have to give a proper specification for that. If the specification is not there in the document, so then ultimately the treatment will not take place. Then it will end up with an environment disaster. That is the outcome, right? Other thing, erosion of the public fund, right? So then engineer, mechanical engineer or the electrical engineer, they should be very careful in preparation of the specification. It depends again on the flow rate, right? Recently we handled a bid is about 760 million, as I remember, yeah, 760 million contract, in which the this aeration capacity, what was proposed by the bid, one of the bidders, were higher than the specified aeration capacity. But it was not recommended by the engineer. Because if the aeration capacity is more than the design flow level, then again a problem, right? So then that was not approved. Then again we clarified from the bidder, but they were not in a position to give us the required aeration limit, and then that was not considered. So likewise, so then preparation of a specification, I'm talking about the civil items or the mechanical equipment, but same for computers or any other goods that we are going to purchase, right? Same. If the computer is not having the real specification according to the job, according to the work that we are going to use, then no point. So that's why the preparation is very important. Power plant, anything, right? And carrying out proper evaluation in line with the specification. right? So then that is what I mentioned. The evaluation has to be done in accordance with the specification. So there was a time, so then we imported some of the pumps to wastewater. There are lift stations. So then where the wastewater coming in and collected in huge wells, right? Those are called lift well. Then to the lift well, so there are some gravity lines coming in after the collection. So then those collected wastewater is pumped to the treatment plant. So then these pumps are huge pumps. Then we imported some pumps from Japan and with a local accredited agent. And then once we check the pumps specification, then it's not the specification which was mentioned in the bidding document, and we evaluated. And then because the impeller type was not the impeller type that we recommended, then we had to reship it. Then initially the manufacturer contractor did not agree with that. Then he said, no, so we will take only the impeller and get you the impeller only. The pump is not having any problem. So pump capacity, everything is there. Then he said, okay, give us time, then we will get you impeller. Then we said no, because impeller and the pump to be tested at the factory simultaneously, and then only we can, because there's a third party verification also, and then only we can accept it. Then I asked the contractor, so why don't you invite your principals to come, manufacturer. Then the manufacturers came. And then I told them very clearly, so then you have to understand, so then we have very big regard to Japanese people, and then we have to maintain that status, right? Likewise, so many stories ultimately, so they were convinced to give us new pumps, new 3 pumps, because they had to maintain their good name, right? And then their reputation. Finally, we got good pumps. Again, another contract happened, same type of thing happened in that is from European company. So then no matter where the country is, there might be errors, right? So we have to be specific. We have to think of the funds of the people and the organization and take decision. Then again, I told the local contractor, so then we can't accept this, so you have to change it. Then he said no, so then I'm trying to get from the manufacturer, then they are not replying. Then I asked, so then why don't you give me the manufacturer's details? So then we wrote to the manufacturer, and then ultimately manufacturer, because they don't like to blacklist and tarnish their name. Then after writing, then recently after 2 months, so it took nearly 2 months to resolve the issue. But we got all new pumps and the spare parts, everything, right? So likewise, so then actions can be taken. Keep in our mind the fundamentals, right? Fundamentals. So then we have to get the maximum benefit to the people and for the organization and value for money, right? And pre-sample testing before commissioning, right? Pre-sample testing. So then in civil contracts normally, so we have to do this. Sometimes even after doing everything, so there might be changes, right? So there was a contract recently, so then their materials, everything was okay, but there was a problem in mixing plant, and then once the concrete was laid and then the tested, so then the required strength of grade 30 or 35 was not there, right? Then we have to go through another process, right? So then what happens? So then ultimately, so then that part has to be stopped, and then until get the proper testing done, whether that can be rectified. So what are the rectification things that we can do, right? Likewise, so many things. When I was in Koggala zone somewhere in 1993, so then there was a problem. Actually, there was a building, entrance building, where these vehicles going in and coming out. And then there was a precast beam, is about, I think, 12 meters having a span. And then we put that on top of a cobble, and then there was a crack identified just before the opening, right? Then we had to postpone the opening, and then once we check it, so then the required cover was not there, and then the point load was transmitted only at the corner of the corbel, and then it collapsed. It's going to be collapsed, and then the crack was there. Then we jack the building, jack the beam, and then repaired by extending the reinforcement. Likewise, so then precautions can be taken, but those are sometimes we can see after some time. But better to get ready with right from the beginning, testing materials. I just mentioned very few materials, but there are so many things, so we have to check. Then in situ test, right? So there are so many actually. This one we did this in situ testing. So then what is called this ultrasound test, and even the before normally we do if we are doing concreting, so we have this normal slump test and then in situ test, that cube test, things like that. So then testing that we carry out at the site, right? And do it regularly, right? Regularly we have to focus on the testing, and the prior approval sheet is normal. So then sometimes, so then those who are in the field, you know, these things are happening. But if you are not having experience, you have to add these things, right? Prior approval sheet. So then whether required spacing is there, reinforcement. So if the spacing is not there, so then it's a fundamental mistake that we do, because space is very important. For that only the design has been completed, design has been done, spacing and the diameter, right? And even the which way the reinforcement is laid, whether that is in the short span first or long span second. So then all these are matters. So then that approval sheet has to be there. Then who is the person who is going to check at the site, check it, and then certify it. Then now the concrete or the any other activity can be done, even plumbing, right? Same. Pre-visit to the site. So we have to go in advance and then identify the situation and give solutions. Deploying proper machinery and material, right? So then if the contractor is not deploying the proper people, right? So then if they are not having, so then to give a person as a person, right? Namata namak, so then that is not the valid, right? So then there should be a person who can do the job, right? Even at the evaluation, we have to see the CVs of the people, whether those qualified people are there, right? With preparation and evaluation, you might have either studied or not, even pre-qualification. So then how these CVs, how the their experience matters. It matters a lot. So then at the time of execution, those things should be there. And the post-testing. So then once the completion, the job is completed, again it has to be tested, and then check whether everything is like pressure testing, right? So then if it is a pump, so then we have to do a pressure testing and see if the pipeline, so we have to do the pipeline testing, pressure testing, and see whether any the pressure drop, or it means so there is a water leakage. So then it has to be then found and rectified, right? And the warranty. So warranty should be there. So then that's where these manufacturers are responsible. And if it is, we do that in evaluation normally, if we have requested 5 years warranty, so it should be there. So then no one can give 3 years warranty at a lower price. So then we can't accept it, because our target is to go for 5 years warranty, right? This is a major deviation. Then the performance security. Sometimes performance security, if the contract is in shaky situation like this, if the evaluation committee is not having much reliability with the contractor, so then sometimes we change the performance guarantee and increase it. If it is 5%, so we ask to give us additional performance guarantee. Sometimes even this for this up end, the front end loading, like in a situation like that, even sometimes TC recommends to go with additional performance guarantee. Maybe you have heard about those things and seen, right? So that's very important, and it should be unconditional. It should be unconditional, right? And third party inspection reports, Bureau Veritas, Leos, likewise. So then you can't go abroad and check manufacturers' places. So some organizations like Water Board, so then they have a system to visit manufacturing plants. One way actually they are giving experience to their technical law management, those who are in the field, to get an idea, exposure, what is happening there, and then get the reports. You know that it's like again specification, right? Sometimes if a wastewater pipe, if it is a DI pipe, ductile iron pipe, having ductile iron pipe is going to be used in a wastewater transmission with some velocity. So then their internal coating has to be specified for that. That is called cement, alumina cement type of coating, as I remember. So then, so you cannot use normal coating for that. Then the pipe gets corroded, and ultimately, even for water, right? If the real coating inside is not there, so then when the time goes, the pipe internally get deteriorated, and then the coating will be removed away slowly. Ultimately, water will get infected. So then that's why we have to get this very clear reports, right? Very small contract actually came to my procurement committee last week. So then they wanted to purchase, it's not a big thing, it's about 250,000 rupees. So then they wanted to purchase a fire door. Fire door means, so then there's a server room. There's a server room where the servers are there, and then the entire system is installed in that particular room. They have to protect this from any fire, right? So then that door is there. So that door is called fire door. So then they wanted to purchase a fire door, and then in the first committee, then TC submitted a report. So then there is no the third party verification. We can't check the door after the installation. Even once we purchase it, we can't check it. So then I told team, so why don't you get third party recommendation, and then either ITI or maybe any other university or accredited laboratory, so whether they have checked this material, and then fire resistance is there. So how many temperature that the fire door can withstand, likewise. So then again they submitted a report, and based on that only we approved it. So then third party inspection and their reports are very important, right? And the regular meeting and discussions. So once the project is started, so we have to maintain regular discussions. At least fortnight meetings is very important at the site level. At least the once a month meeting with the management employer is very important. Then only we can understand the situation at the site and continue. And then contract administration plan. This is a very important area that to maintain the contract throughout, and performance assessment plan, right? So then these are the essential activities we have to focus. So then there may be more, but at least if we have idea on these things, so then we can get a good job done. Okay. So then importance of contract management plan, CAP. So then contract is a binding agreement between two parties or more. So then that we discuss. A contract administration plan helps to manage a contract successfully and provide a tool for monitoring, right? This is for normally complex contracts, better to have it. So then 3 planning tools to be prepared for effective management: contract administration plan, performance assessment, and surveillance techniques. Proper plan will increase the profit and minimize the losses. That's obvious, no? So then that's why even sometimes Japanese, they do planning sometimes 5 times, planning. So likewise, so their time at the planning stage is very high. But when they come to execution, it's fantastic, right? Good example is this we witness what is this bridge across the Kalin River. What a planning that was, right? So then maybe most of you have seen the method of construction, right? So then even we couldn't understand the way that they constructed this elevated bridge in a very interesting manner across the river, right? So then it was designed segmented wise, right? So then there were two piers, where this actually the cables are there. And then up to the river side, so then they use different technique, right? Up to the river side, it's like a cantilevered concreting system. So then came either side of the river and finally got connected, right? Part by part. And other side, so then that is expensive, but other side, so then they use propane system, and then they did the concrete with the proper that even design of the propane system with the scaffolding and the steel the columns. So then it was fantastically done. So likewise, so then these things should be planned properly, right? So then if you plan properly, so then the profit can be increased and also minimize the time consumption, right? So normally in the contract administration plan, we have to focus on who, what, when, where. So then from the beginning, so then normally, so then I always ask my team members to do this. So then that's very important. The plan should be an integrated team product: finance, technical, quality, security, line, agency approval. So then it's like, for example, the performance guarantee, right? So then who is going to take this? Then when it has to be taken is only example, right? So then advance guarantee. So then who is going to do that? At the time of execution, the testing, or maybe the road acquisition, obtaining local authority approval, right? Then the payment, interim payments, likewise. So then all these key activities can be lined up, and then understand who is going to be responsible for that, the activity is what, and then who is going to be responsible, when it has to be done, and where it has to be done. So then the testing of soil at the site has to be done by an engineer or the inspection engineer or the who is the laboratory technician, whoever. So then who is responsible for that at the site, right? So likewise, so then we can have a proper plan that will be very important for us to manage the contract throughout. Actions to be defined very clearly with their responsibility. Clear statement on the scope is essential, right? So then what to do, how to do, and then what they are going to do. So then is very important, right? So personal responsibilities are clearly mentioned, and no overlap, right? So then otherwise, so then as earlier question, so then no one is taking responsibility, right? It's not my job, that's your job. It has to be very clearly defined. So then no one will get excuses then. So then very easy for us to manage the contract. Example, who will get the line agency approval and when, right? Who's responsible to measure quality and what intervals? So likewise, so then this, but bit comprehensive, but if we have the plan improperly, very easy for us to continue. Reading the contract document is very important. Right? Sometimes, so then these are the lapses, even not even the reading the contract document. Even I had to give 1 hour the pre-bid meeting lecture recently. Even no one has read the bidding document. So there are around, I think, 12 contractual organization participated. Again, about 900 million job, right? And then this is how the level sometimes, right? They just come and then listen. So we have to tell them each and every step, when you have to, how to prepare your bidding document and everything, then only they will understand. List out all deliverables with a specification. Example, supply of pump. Likewise, so then there may be deliverables, no, right? If it is a composite project, including civil and mechanical, electrical, so then likewise, so then we can mention everything, right? Include the time plan properly. Start milestones. So then I know that you are maybe now using very good techniques. Primavera is there earlier in the industry, MS project tools like that. So then now there are many things. So then many tools that can be used. Put them in a contract calendar. Prepare requirements as per the specification. Include items which need special attention, right? So then we can have some stars or something that it needs attention, right? And resource schedules as per the program. Manpower schedules. Identify specific expert knowledge, service at what time in advance, right? there might be requirement time to time. We have to get some expert people to come and give us instruction. So then if we know that if we recorded it, so then if someone is monitoring it, so then easy for us to have a better project. In finance, budget on the contract with the clear allocation. Right. So then throughout the process, so then contractor should not be penalized, and so then he should be paid. Right. And cash inflow diagram, cash outflow diagram as per condition of contract. The person responsible for finance administration, right? Then there should be a person for that also. No? Normally, quantity surveys are doing this, so then they prepare the bill and then go through the process, and they focus on the claims, and then they identify what are the areas that they can create a claim. Likewise, so then there can be a person. Finance, reconcile expenses and gain project continuously, right? What document need for invoicing and bills? Bonds, test report, engineers instruction, VAT registration, invoices. Sometimes, so then these things are actually happening very, very regularly. So then sometimes, so then no VAT registration document given, right? No, the test reports are connected with the interim bills. So then somebody should look at it and check whether all these things are there. Then only we can have the smooth rolling out of the project. How the contract is paid and when is paid. Records in the company finance system. Then the work plan. Create a work plan that allocates the personal and financial resources required to meet the terms of the contract. Assign responsibility to each deliverables to internal personnel. So then it's a complex thing, but if we document properly, so then easy. Then risk and safety management. Identify risks that could prevent our company from meeting the terms of the contract. Right? Loss of key personnel and natural disasters are the key. Prepare a strategy to address those in advance. Ready with the course of actions that can be taken. Safety plan for crucial activities in line with the legal provisions. Comprehensive safety policy and transmit the same to all. So then normally we know that now actually that safety measurements are very high in construction industries in Sri Lanka, even but early stage. No, there was no much concern on the safety, right? Now safety first. We can see the boards are there, but things are not happening properly there. So then safety, there are safety engineers now. There are safety officers now. So then their responsibility is to actually look at the safety, right? So they go through all the process and then guide them, give them a training. Sometimes our people, they are very reluctant to even wear safety helmets, right? So, but ultimately if something goes wrong, so then it's a disaster, right? So recently there was an incident took place. So then in a factory, so then they were not permitted to repair machines while the machine is in operation. So something went wrong in the machine, and then this guy, so then he did not stop the machine and then tried to put his hand there and remove or the fine tune it. Ultimately, so then his hand got coated with the machine, and he lost his hand. So then these are the things can be happen. So then so many things, right? Testing warranty, we discussed type of testing, evaluation criteria, praise and testing responsibilities, right? And availability of testing guidelines, specifications, highlighting of unusual things that the normal likewise. So then and then performance assessment plan also a part of this can be a standalone document, or then a part of this document is normally used in for the performance assessment. So then it assures the quality, right, or supplies or services as per the contract to provide specific information to evaluation team. This can be sample test, evaluation testing, carrying out periodic inspections, as I mentioned earlier, right? Okay, so then PAP, what tasks will be inspected? When the tasks will be inspected, what standard will be utilized? So likewise, so then actions to be taken after the order to minimize. So then this actually that maybe you have learned these things. But just to remind, so then brief the size, complexity, urgency. So then this is an engineer's responsibility or engineer's representative responsibility, and give proper understanding of the project at the beginning and continue, right? And clarify whatever the responsibility of the parties. So likewise, try to make very clear picture of the contract and record those, right? We call it a kickoff meeting sometimes, right? And these are the deliverables, in a performance guarantee we discussed, construction program, and advance guarantee, third-party insurance, methodology statement, site staff. So then we have to maintain all these things to have a proper contract without deviating from the scope, time, and the quality, right? So then, because if we don't maintain these things, so then ultimately it goes as a variation, right? So then it's our responsibility to manage the contract without going with any variation, right? Method of instruction, time periods for instruction approvals, right? Approvals is so many things. And there are conditions. So then after the contract is over, contract must request engineer to issue the certificate of conformity. So then that is there in accordance with the conditions of contract as built drawing also there. So then, right. So then after completion. So I think so then we have covered the first one, that is the how to manage variation in a contract. So then let me talk about this is what we discussed now. This is actually contract management variations. So then variations can be in different types. So then one I told about this time variation, right? So then how to manage time variation. So then and actions that can be taken, and then even to manage the scope, and what are the actions that can be taken if there is a variation. So then of the scope. So then how can we get the approval and implement it? Contractor is responsible to do that, and then we have to go through the guideline. Basically, the conditions of contract is the mandate. It's like a Bible throughout the contract. So we have to keep that in mind and manage according to the conditions. And then in variation, so then how to manage with the variation. So then within the limit. So then according to the guideline. So then how to get it approved. You can go through the conditions of contract and then connect with the procurement guideline and get those approved. And finally, we discuss about the construction administration plan. If we have a proper planning, then we can manage the project, that is called time, scope, and the quality, and then and the score, the cost. So then all these four components are managed if we have a proper planning. So then this is what I wanted to tell you. And then if you have any questions, so then you can raise. Otherwise, so then we'll go to the next part. I will share the presentation tomorrow. Can you see this presentation?
Yes, sir.
So someone has asked a question. Could you please explain the termination process so that it takes another. Let's see if we have the time. So then we discuss. It takes at least another 30 minutes to explain the process. So then, but before that, we'll continue this. So then we discuss the variation, that price variation, price fluctuation. So then the prices can be fluctuated, especially country like us. So then because the dollar is fluctuating, the rupee value is fluctuating, and then the material prices are vulnerable. So then always, so then we have to have provision, right, to manage it. So then in ICTAD or SIDA, there's a formula that we can manage price fluctuation, right? So we'll see what are the important areas that we have to focus and how to do it, right? So then normally it's a contract not exceeding 10 million. So then one formula, and then contract exceeding 10 million. So then it's another formula, right? Basically, this is a formula not exceeding 10 million. This is not a very big or complicated thing. Basically, we have to find out what are these parameters, and then calculate those and put into the formula and get the outcome, right? Here F equals 0.869 within bracket V minus VNA into LTC minus LTB over LTB. So then ITB, right? So then F is price adjustment for the period. So then if it is 1 month period, so then first bill has been submitted. So then the base bill was there and the second bill will be submitted. And then if the material prices have been changed during that particular period, so then how to do that? What is the price? So then the conditions of contract shows this formula that is in the document. Then the quantity surveyor or engineer or technical officer should calculate, and then the contractor will submit, and then they will recheck and then give the final the recommendation. Then valuation of the work done during the period concern, right? VNA value of non-adjustable elements. Non-adjustable elements, we know that in the preliminary bill, so there are items, so then those are non-adjustables. And then ITC current composite index for the type of work. It comes from the SIDA, the bulletins. ITB base composite index for the type of work, right? So then they publish indices each and every month. So then we have to take from those indices and do the calculation, right? So then method of computation of price fluctuation. So then estimation, right? How to calculate V, right? So V equals VC plus MC minus VP plus NP. So then what is VC? Cumulative value of work done during the period of concern, right? MC, 80% of the invoice value of the materials. Normally we take 80% of the materials, no, right? Permanent works on current valuation. VP, cumulative value of work done to previous claim. MP, 80% of the invoice value of the materials used for the permanent works on previous valuation. So then step 2, excluding the non-adjustable elements. Then how to do that? NAC equals cumulative of work certified under the item space as non-adjustable element up to the current bill. NAC equals cumulative of work certified under the items as non-adjustable elements up to the previous bill. So then those are the things in the formula. And then step 3, computation of price fluctuation. Calculate the factor. So then we know VNA, and then we can just put the items there and do the calculation. So then ultimately get the results, right? So then this is how the state the use of current composite indices, according to the submission of monthly statements, right? There are cases, case A, the claim 1. Actually, I wanted to, could have been better. So anyway, so then I will explain there's another presentation on this. So then loaded the second one. But anyway, there's no division, but there are few slides to give you basic introduction. So then this has actually very few slides, a small calculation. After that, I will go with the other one also. There I have put some slides. So then what is this basic indices, and then how to consider current and the current month indices. Likewise, things are there. So we'll show that, right? And here these are some monthly statements submitted by the contractor. There is a case normal the things that can be happen. Case A, right? Month 1, he has submitted claim 1. Month 2, he has submitted claim 2. Month 3, he has not submitted any claim. Month 4, so same. Month 5, claim 3. Month 6, final. Case B, in month 2, he has submitted claim 1. Month 3, claim 2. In month 5, final. Case C, claim 1 in first month, and then in the second month, there are 2 claims, 2 and 3. And in the fourth month, so then final, right? So then how we will see how these indices can be taken for different bills, right? So can I get 5 minutes, and then not 5 minutes even, 2-3 minutes? Is it okay? Right? No problem, no? Right? Give me 2 minutes, so then I'll come soon. Okay, let's see how this example taken the indices, right? And here details of monthly statements. Case A, claim 1, and month 2, claim 2, likewise. Then if we take case A, applicable current composite indices, year month 1, and for claim 2, month 2, because the claim has been submitted in month 2, right? Here, claim 3, so then in the month 3, so then there is no claim. Month 4, there is no claim. He has submitted the claim in month 5, right? So then, but these two, so then they have not submitted the bills. Then the indices is taken the month 3, right? So then for the final one, he has submitted in month 6. Then it's taken month 6 indices, right? In the case B, month 1, because the case B, bill number 1 has been submitted in month 2, and but here no bill. Then that was taken as month 1. And claim 2 in the month 3, then no problem. So then the bill has been submitted there. Then that was taken. And here in the month 4, final claim in the month 5. So then here no bill, then this was taken as the indices. So likewise, so then here also same case C, month 1, so then he has submitted the bill, so then the indices are there. In the month 2, so then 2 claims are there, so then for claim 2 and 3 both, so then we consider the indices in month 2. And for the final, so then he has not submitted the claim in month 3, so then that was taken in month 3. So likewise, so then we can take the indices, and then the basic calculation, yeah, an example, the total contract sum is 4.3 million. So then it's a calculation, the value of price fluctuation using a simplified formula that is less than 10 million for the project of construction of office building for a BC company to claim 1 and claim for using following data. Claim 1, the contract data, so then the contract sum is 4.3 million. Date of bid closing 13 February 2022. Date of commencement of work 4th May 2022. And claim 1, date of submission 5th July. So we have to focus on the month, right? Value of the work 80% of the cost of materials 50,000. Value of non-adjustable element 15,000, right? Because non-adjustable element, so the cumulative value is taken, right? And then the claim 3, it was submitted in August. Some figures are there similarly. And then claim 4, date of submission December. Value of certified work done, again 3.9 million. 80% of the materials at site 40,000. So likewise, so then figures are given, right? And then we will have to prepare this calculation sheet, right? And then this is how the calculation is done, right? Then previous valuation, no. So then current valuation, then the first one, they have submitted July, and then cumulative work done. So then we put everything here, and then indices. So then how the indices has been taken, the applicable current indices, month of applicable base indices. So then how the base indices was taken. So then date of commencement of the job May and bid close in February. So then in SIDA book it says, so then 1 month before the bid close in indices are taken as the base indices, right? So then based on that, here the month of applicable current indices for the May. So then right. So bill has been submitted in May. So then no problem. So then the it has been taken as May, and then base indices has been taken January. That is 1 month before the bid closing, and then basic calculation as for the formula, right? And for the price adjustment for the current valuation is 385. It's not a complex calculation.
Sir, here the bill is submitted in July. Why May is taken for the first claim is submitted is in July?
Yeah, correct. But the date of commencement of work is 4th May. So normally he has to submit the first bill in May, right? So then you will go to the example here. Compare with this, right? Because if he has not submitted, in between here you take this one, the case A, right? Case A, claim 1, claim 2, claim 3. Here the claim in the month 5, claim 3 has been submitted, right? So then
Sir,
claim.
sir, it is okay, but he has to take some time to work before the bill.
Oh, this is the formula, no? Right? So then whatever it is, it doesn't matter. So then normally what the practice should be, you have to keep on billing, right? It doesn't matter. So then the small amount, that is the practice normally we instruct contractors to do. Then the relevant indices are taken into consideration. It doesn't matter, there is no value. You put the same value what we have done early month and then submit it. The asset can be small amount of work, no, right?
Yes.
The practicing of actually continuation of the bill is important, right? Otherwise, so then it goes to that example. So then if in between there are no bills, and then automatically it goes to the previous index. So then contractor loses, right?
Yes.
Got it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And this is how the indices they are. So then taken, right? You can get the bulletin and see how the indices are there. So then actually this is 2023 is one. Sorry. So this is how basic formula calculation, right? So then just I will share this presentation. Then you can continue calculation for other bills, right? Using this basic one. There are claim number 3 and 4. So let me go to other presentation of this. So this is somewhat complicated, but again the formula is there, right? And then I have taken actually some of the definitions what they have mentioned in the book, right? And here the definitions, as I told you, so then I couldn't discuss because I got this other presentation first. Then here base indices definition month. For the purpose of the base indices, the month is defined as the time period between the first and the last day of the month in the Georgian calendar, inclusive of the first and the last day. Base indices shall be the indices for the inputs prevailing for the month, 1 month prior to the month on which the last day for the submission of the bid falls. So then that is what we consider. Okay. For example, if the bids were closed on any date of the month September, the base indices applicable shall be indices published for the month of August of the same year. If the relevant indices have been published at the time of preparation of the bid document, the employer may include same in the space provided in the contract data. So then at the preparation time, so we have to do that. Then the current indices, so then we discuss few examples also. For the purpose of the current indices, the month is defined as the time period between the first and the last day of the month in the Georgian calendar, inclusive of the first and the last day. The current indices of the particular input shall be the index published by SIDA for the input of month applicable as described below. In the case of first month, the statement of the current indices shall be taken as the indices prevailing on the month where the start date, commencement date falls. Right? For any other month, statement or the statement at the completion, the current indices shall be taken as the indices prevailing for the month where the first date of the current valuation period falls. So then again the same example, right? So is another one. This is actually gabion wall construction, and then where the basic claims 2, 3 are there. And here we have used this second formula, right? And again, basic information are there in the claim 1. And then how the computation can be done, right? Right, likewise, so then indices taken. And then for the second payment, right? Likewise, the indices were calculated, right? Then the case study proves actually that here how this the indices are calculated. I'm not going to do this, but you can see the BOQ items are there, right? And then calculations for the indices. Then here the non-adjustable items according to the BOQ, right? And what are the items which are disregarded? And then the quantities, units, and then the rates, and then calculated all these according to the items. What are the quantities, right? And then identified the significant work items, and based on that, it has been grouped. So likewise, all the quantities that skilled labor, small, heavy equipment, likewise cement, how many? So then it's actually somewhat complicated calculation. So then if you use the standard the Excel sheet, so then normally that can be done, right? So ultimately, for each and every item, cement, metal, likewise, so then the amounts are calculated, and then indices, the percentages are there, percentage inputs are there, right? So then based on that, the calculation have been done, right? So I will share these two presentations, then you can go through it, right? So let me share the final one also. So then here is the other one that we were asked to discuss today. Effective negotiation in contract, right? So then so as I mentioned earlier, so the negotiation starts from the beginning even up to the end of any contract, right? So then we have to do that to get the job done properly, keeping the basics in our mind, right? The content here that what I was thinking to discuss. So then what is negotiation, introduction, what is contract negotiation, right? And why negotiation matters. And then the preparation of checklist, key strategies and common pitfalls so in negotiation, right? So let's see one by one. So then why actually this negotiation is required, right? So then the negotiation, so then it takes place everywhere, right? Not even in contract. So then even maybe purchasing, if you go to a shop, so then you negotiate with the seller and check whether you can buy the item for your rate. Even if you are going with the to buy a car or vehicle, so you do a negotiation, right? So then if you know the background, so then you can do that negotiation easily, and ultimately the both parties should be happy, no, right? As a negotiation is even in family also, then a lot of negotiation from the morning up to then. So then there are so many negotiations, husband and wife, and then the mother and children. So then a lot of negotiations. So then sometimes some children are actually that very short, and so then they get advantage with some negotiation, isn't it, right? So then that's how things are happening in the real life, right? Even in contract also same. Contract also same. So then we have to take our understanding that keep in mind. So then our objective is to complete the project within the time with the best quality, and then achieve the scope of the work, right? So then what are the contract negotiation essentials? How to balance time, quality, scope, right? This is what we discuss throughout, right? So then basically what we have to uh, basically we have to see then whether if we are going to negotiate whether we will be in a position to complete the project within the timeline that we stipulated or given, right? And whether we can maintain the quality and the scope. So those are the three areas now, right? And then the number one is process to align expectation between parties. So then one side we will not allow contractor even to lose, right? Contractor also then has to get his the profit, or then his to maintain his credibility. And then our side, so then employer side, the employer should get the proper job, value for money, right? So then expectations are there for both parties, right? So then that we have to keep in proper understanding and clear agreement on timeline, deadline. So then, for example, now we are going to give an extra work, right? So then contractor, Mr. Contractor, you come. So then this is what we want to do, right? So then there cannot be the ambiguous timelines, right? So then you do the job and then we will pay, or then it's up to you. So then it cannot be. So then time should be specific, right? So then within this time, so then that's why we are using computer the contract program now. So even if you are going to include the variation, so then we have to consider that also with the variation, and then change the time. So we discussed at the these FIDIC conditions. I showed the diagram also, and then there was an extension, and there was a time period which was mentioned in the bar chart, and then again based on that entire contract period has been extended. Likewise, so then it should be very clear deadline. So you can't compromise the quality, right? So then what are the standards? So then what is your concrete type? Whether it is grade 20 or 25 or 30, 35. So then likewise, so if it is the purchasing of items, so then again the standards has to be maintained, right? And then and which time? So when it's going to be happen, deliverables. So then this has to be completed this particular day. This has to be completed in this particular day. So then item wise, so then we have to negotiate and agree, right? So then this is what normally this type of things I think are happening in private sector mostly, but in the government sector, negotiations are very rare. Sometimes in contract field, but in the private sector, normally they do have their listed contractors. So they call bids from different as our foreign gentleman mentioned. So then there are some lump sum contracts. So in which then the employer and the contractor sit together and discuss and agree upon some sort of agreement and then execute, even from the beginning, not for variation. But here we are talking about the variation, how to manage a variation, right? But that is something different in the private sector. So likewise, even as I mentioned earlier also, where this we got found very poor soil condition. So then where we had to discuss with them and took a decision to go with the compensation. So it's again a discussion, right? And there are so many instances where we are involved in our organization. If there is a closed down factory, or if there is a situation, any investor is facing difficulties, so then we have to give them some of the reliefs. And then because employment generation and exports are very important, and then and we have to get the maximum benefit from their operation. And in the meantime, so then they also have to maintain their businesses. So then regularly we have to have interactions and give them assistance. So then always negotiations are happening, not in financial terms, sometimes even to facilitate, right? Sometimes so people come and all of a sudden, so then I want to bring this item today as a sample. So then, but if you don't permit it today, but officers are all gone, so then can I submit relevant documents and give you the guarantee that I will come tomorrow with all the papers and things? So then somebody should take a decision with that negotiation and record it and permit it. Otherwise, so then he will lose that order. Is a very small thing, but something like that can be happen in day to day, right? Then what is the impact if the negotiation fails? So then number one is time delay. So then if there's a delay in the negotiation, and if we can't take a decision, so then it cost, right? So one side the employer will cost, other side contractor will cost. I told about this very good example of 913 million project that we are doing now. Actually, that because of the negotiation got failed, right? Because the contractor was telling, so then this is what the reality, and then procuring entity was in a different view, and then they were not in a position to come to one table and face to face and discuss, understand the reality, and write in here and there and send in here and there write in papers, letters. So ultimately, so then it got very bad impact to entire project, right? And another thing, there was another project. So then contractor was asked to supply additional chain link mesh for a additional stretch. Then actually there was a price change at that time. So then contractor requested additional price for that, but procuring entity did not agree with that, and ultimately, so then it was dragging, and it took time. Then if we can't agree upon a proper timing, ultimately, so then it delays the project, right? It delays the project and ultimately money. So then one side is money, and other side delay, right? And quality, voice standard, and the trust is going to be deteriorated. So then because it's a mutual understanding from the beginning. So then contractor, client, and consultant, both all three parties should work together, right? Otherwise, there won't be a better product, right? And what happens? So then if the better quality is not there, so then sometimes the contractors also then try to cheat, and no understanding, no proper clarity there, and then ultimately the product will be not the product that we expected, right? And even for the scope, so then how to do that? That has to be recorded very clearly. So then if it is extra work with 5 items which are in line, so then in first item, so then when it's going to be happen, when the second item, when it's going to be happen, likewise it has to be formulated properly and recorded. So that will minimize the dispute which can arise after the project or after the intrusion of this variation, right? And ultimately, then if the variation is bad, then the negotiation is bad. Ultimately, it's going to be a chaos. So then nothing will happen. Projects are standing still, right? No one will happy. So then we have to be open mind, and sometimes even the better word is to actually having the empathy. So then understand the contractor situation. Contractors side, they have to understand the employer situation, right? So then if we understand properly, so then negotiation will be successful, right? And then for negotiation, before negotiation, basically then we have to do a proper research. So then even contract contract administration, basically we have to understand what we are going to discuss or negotiate. Normally, if it is a bid, we tell the bid evaluation committee to prepare the market prices, or if they have quoted higher prices, so then before the award, so then we have to negotiate with bidder whether you can do this at this rate or not. Then how we are going to emphasize the rate, right? How we are going to emphasize the rate that we ask him to do, right? So for that we have to have facts and give him a clear idea, right? Clear idea. Then only then he can't argue on that. Then he will come down. So other side. So then if the rates are very less than the applicable rate, so then we have to convince him to do the job within the overall contract price, right? Then in that case, so then we have to study other areas, other items, right? And also then the rates of other contracts. Sometimes we have to go beyond that level, right? So then likewise, so then doing better research and keeping the objective in mind is very important before sitting for negotiation, right? For sometimes actually this the disposal of properties. So what we practice in the government sector is normally we get a basic valuation from the government value, right? Then the government valuation is there. Then the both parties can sit together based on that valuation and come to a conclusion for the prices, right? But here in contracts, so then we have to do our homework. So then they are also even the contractor also not coming with normal just as a person. No. They do their job, their home study, and then ultimately both parties should come to a better understanding. So then negotiation cannot be sometimes completed in one day, right? So then if it is a complex thing, the price is very high, and then it takes time. So then, okay, give us time. We'll go and come back to you. Then again, they will come. I can remember, so one negotiation of contract award. So then management wanted to get a 20% reduction, right, of the contract price. So that was the requirement. 20% reduction of a contract price of the quoted price is a huge amount, even more than 700 million, 750 or something. Then we offered 20%, right? So then how we can offer the 20%, right? So then we have to match different the contractors' performances, their prices in similar projects, and likewise. So then that was a management decision. So then we did some research for similar project in that type. So then this is what that particular contractor. So likewise, so then I studied and then went through all the rates and then again compared with the items which had been imported likewise. So then did lot of calculation first. It's a huge calculation sheet. So that was the management decision and that was the instruction given. And then we sat for the negotiation. Then we showed all these calculation. Then they also did not understand or did not feel that we will do that much of calculation or we have done that much of calculation or studies. Then they did not come to a understanding on the very first day, conclusion, and then they said, okay, give us another week, they will come. Because they want to get job. Went back again. And then again another discussion. And then during that time, again the client side, so then they did further studies. And then the contractor came, bidder came with understanding, some understanding. Okay, so we can't give you 20%. But our percentage is maximum we can go for 4%, right? So then they started at least. So then initially that was not, but now they have come to 4. Likewise, so then it continued and ultimately, so then they gave us 10%. So actually we were giving our management keeping the percentage 10 to 12%. Started the negotiation, ultimately 10% reduction of the total price, and then the contract was signed, right? So likewise, so then it takes time, but if you do the proper negotiation, keep in proper research material, so then both parties can come to a conclusion, right? Define non-negotiable, example, quality cannot be dropped below it. So then that means, so then if the quality should be this quality, as I mentioned, if the concrete level is this, or the computer, the motherboard or the RAM capacity, whatever that item, so then you cannot compromise on the quality, right? So then, and it has to be defined. This is the quality we need. We need this much of capacity. We need this much of RPM, right? We need within this particular period. Likewise, so then we cannot keep that in the ambiguous situation. Prepare best alternative to a negotiated agreement. So if it is not happening, so then what is the other one? Better to keep that also in our mind. If it is not going to happen, so then as I mentioned earlier, so then we won't have a Gabian, but negotiation failed, and then we got some alternative method for us to complete the project. So better to have alternation. And basically strategies, so then trade-off, example, extend time to improve the quality, right? So then maybe then, because if you want to maintain the quality, then the contractor can ask, so then give us another the 2 months, so then we will improve the quality, right? We will improve the quality. So then or maybe 2 weeks. So then likewise, so then we can give something to get better quality, right? Right? and higher quality upfront. And then the win-win, that is win-win solution. So then we ask them to complete higher quality, very important item first, and then focus on the other items later. Then the both party will be happy. The essential items will be completed in advance, and then later other things, right? And clarity, so then use a specific matrix, right? So then that means, so then you have to define. So then this is what we need. Your specification is this much, your time is this much, right? So then we cannot have in some sort of shaky things, so ambiguous the definition. So then in negotiation, so then it has to be recorded properly and agreed upon, right? So then normally things that we need to avoid, we will figure out the scope later. So then, okay, you go ahead and start the job. We'll figure out the scope later. Don't do that. We should never do that, because actually it has to be understood properly and recorded, and then only, otherwise the conflicts will come. No, so then if there will be a conflict, so conflict resolution is another big process. So then, a lot of things are there, and then education, arbitration, and ultimately can be developed as the court case. So then a lot of things can happen at other side. That there is one side. Other side losing the objective. So we are losing our key objective, what we want to do, right? Quality is our priority. So without matrix, how can you the quality? So then we say just, okay, we need better quality. You can't do that. So if you are going to do any negotiation, so you mention the quality. So this is our quality, right? If it is the box, so then what are the sizes or the thicknesses? Likewise, so then we have to specify what are the requirements that we need for anything. Then only we can get the better outcome. Deadline are flexible. That cannot be. Deadline is deadline. So then you have to mention first. So then if he is not in a position to meet that, so then deadline, so then we can go for another one later. But we have to fix this first, right? So then, and what are the pitfalls? Emotional triggers. So then how know how to manage them. So then sometimes, so then even to talk to people, understanding their the food. And that is called normally empathy, right? So then the emotional intelligence of how to manage people by talking, right? By relationships, right? So it matters a lot, right? Sometimes, so then some people, they deal with the contractors or the clients in a different manner. Sometimes, so then it's very strange sometimes to understand the way that they have developed their emotional feelings, right? And then they know how to connect with people and get the job done. Maybe you have seen people like this in your organizations also, but there are some people, they don't know how even to talk to people. They start with harsh language, and then ultimately no one will come to any conclusion to start additional job or do a contract, because the way that the thing is going to happen is not the level that we can reach their emotions, right? And lack of preparations, no excuse for the not being prepared. As I mentioned, so then our work, our job is to understand properly. So what are our expectations, and work for that, right? So then preparation is very important. Not being specific, so then we shouldn't. So then we have to be specific. So then what we need is, and then the result is better. So then. Especially in contract administration, then you can't compromise the quality. So then it has to be specific. So this is what the quality that we need, right? And yeah, and then better to have a checklist, time, milestone, deadline, right? As I mentioned, quality, acceptance criteria, actually the acceptance criteria, 98% uptime, likewise. So then specific, right? Scope in, the scope in and out list, likewise. So then checklist, It depends on the work. It depends on the activity that we are going to do, but better to have a proper preparation, right? So in negotiations, preparation is the key to success. Balance trade-off, never sacrifice all three. So then that means we can trade off the time sometimes. So then, okay, you maintain the quality. That's our most important thing. So then we will do additional 1 month, right? Don't sacrifice everything to get the job done. So then it's not acceptable. So then maybe one no, the minimum one, and then get the better outcome. Prepare BATNA and priorities, the alternative. So then and then get the job done. Be specific in all terms will avoid future confusions, right? So then specific, the time is specific, quality is specific, and then the scope is properly written down, and then there won't be any other things will happen later because that is recorded clearly. And as I mentioned earlier, so then records are the key things that we have to maintain throughout the contract, right? So then we have to keep that also in mind. And document clearly to avoid disputes. Documents are the very important, and then once that is agreed upon, then we have to sign. Normally, what I do normally, if I do a negotiation, a lot of negotiations we have to do for contract sometimes before awards and even during contract. Recently, there was a variation came in. It's about contract as about 2.7 million. So then I asked him to do the calculation for that variation. So their calculation was about to 1.8 million or something. The contractor offered 2.7. And then finally, so then we came to a middle somewhere about 2.05 or something. So then, but it totally based on the calculation done by the team. They have done a proper calculation, and when we showed the contractor, so then this is how the reality, this is how the real calculation, and these are the examples. So then he couldn't actually avoid what we told, and then he had to understand the accept it. So that is how that was concluded. And another thing, so then when the word comes, so then on the same time, so we prepare the minute and get it signed and complete on the same day. So otherwise, so then on the following day, so then there might be another decision comes in. So then if he wants to take a decision later, it's okay. But as soon as much as possible, we should try to complete the negotiation minutes, records, everything, get it signed on the same day. So then same though the final negotiation, then it would be easy for us to execute. So that is how normally we do, and it serves us actually a time, and also then the confidence also will be increased. The contractors also happy. Okay, so we went for a discussion, and then we took a decision. There's no any vested interest, so then negotiation has to be taken place in front of everyone, even with the technical evaluation committee members and maybe other people who are involved in that. So then otherwise, so if the negotiation is face to face with one party, so then it's not the negotiation that we should. So then those can be questionable, and those can be interpreted in a different way. Maybe having genuine idea, genuineness is there, but ultimately that can be interpreted in a different way. So then it shouldn't be done. Being government organizations, so better to do any negotiations openly with the blessings of the management and with the blessings of the procurement committees, and get that instructions, and then easy for the execution team to get a better outcome, right? So these are the things normally we have to do in negotiation. It actually is open. There is no other hard and fast rule, but basically keep the basic things in your mind, do the homework properly, and then go through the facts and figures so that the contractor or employer can understand and not to make any arguments. Then easy to take a decision finally, right? So that's it for the today. So then that is what I was asked to do, if you want to discuss or if you want to ask any questions, so then we can discuss. Somebody asked about termination, maybe it's a process. Who asked it? Ganga or somebody? I can remember only that name because he's the only raised the voice. I can see the names appearing here. Who raised the question? Termination.
I am Loganathan, sir.
You asked, no? Yoganathan.
Yes. Yes.
Termination process, something like this. So then termination, so then I have a note on that. So, but I can search it now. If I just mention in the termination, there are the one thing that you have to see the obligation of the parties, right? So then in the contract, there are basic obligations which should be fulfilled by the parties or contractor. If the contract is not in a position to complete or comply with the obligations, then there is a clause in the conditions of contract, we can go for the termination, right? And then even there is a process of doing it. So then if the obligation is not fulfilled, then we have to start to write to him. So why you have not done it, right? Likewise, so then ultimately, so it's like this what is called this, there's a word for that is specific. Devrum Prakash,
Notice,
that's something. Huh?
notice to correct.
Sorry?
Notice to correct. Or?
Notice to correct is actually first one they have sent it. So no, that is notice to correct. And if it is again not happening, so then
Intention to termination.
intention to termination will be sent. Okay, fine. And then after that, so then it's something like the statement of affidavit like. Okay? So then that will be the send. So then likewise, so then steps are there, process, right? Then the continuous communication should be there before you take a decision. Otherwise, so there will be a dispute. Once the dispute is arises, then again another process of adjudication, no things like that, no, right? So then that is one way of doing that. If the contractor has not fulfilled the obligations, right? What are the obligations? He has to meet the quality. Okay. And what else? He has to
Timely completion.
timely completion, right? And then timely completion. And then even to maintain standards, right? Deploy people. Basically, actually, that most of the things happening is a timely completion most of the time. So then again, for timely completion, then there is a liquidated damages, no? So then liquidated damages, so then can be applied. So then we can go up to 10%. That is the maximum limit, no? And beyond that, then employee can take a decision. So then they see evidence that they have not done it, and then that is not arguable even, right? Then we can go for the termination, right? So that is another way of doing termination. Second one. Then number third is so then mutual termination. Then mutually, then both party can agree upon termination. So then one time, so then we actually I had to do a termination on mutual basis. That is something what happened in we wanted to fix a CCTV surveillance system in a zone with cloud. With the cloud, there was no actually connection, and then we wanted to get a frequency from TRC. Then the contractor imported the items. In the bidding document, we mentioned clearly. So then you have to get the what is called TRC approval. But he has not obtained the TRC approval. Imported items, and then we gave him time. Okay, so now you go and take TRC approval. Then only we can take over the items. We gave him a certain time, but he couldn't. Ultimately, both parties agree upon a mutual termination. Then we said, okay, you take your materials and install somewhere. But being government agency, we can't deviate from the conditions in the contract. And then we went for mutual termination. And there were And then another termination is actually for the benefit of employer. So there's another clause in the conditions of contract. If the employee is not in a position to continue the work, and employer is not having required funds to complete the project, so then this year, so then they don't have money. So then it may take another 2 years or 1.5 years, something like that, to get additional funds. So then they will decide to go for a termination. That is for employers convenient. And then what is there is to actually do a proper evaluation what the contractor has done, and maybe some sort of proper calculation on the site, and do a proper assessment on the work done, and do him the payment, sometimes with a reasonable profit even. That is for the convenience of the employer. So likewise, and there are, I will see whether, so then if I can share that presentation also, I will edit. I want to trace it. Termination process is about 12 slides are there in the presentation. I will send it, then you can read how the notices can be sent, and what are the format of notices to be sent, and how to write it, right? Because all these things are documents which can be challenged. It can be challenged at the court, right? So then therefore the writing and sending letters, everything has to be done very carefully. And always when we are writing documents or letters contractually, better to refer conditions of contract. Conditions of contract, and then in accordance with the conditions of contract, likewise. So then it's contractual writing. It's not normal writing letters to organization. Right? Contractual writing is totally different, and there are specific ways of writing.
Sir, excuse me, is there any fine for balance work 25%?
Balance work 25%.
Percent or 20%?
So you mean if they have stopped the work?
Yes, sir.
If
The
they have stopped,
contractor not performing middle of the work.
yeah, it depends on the conditions of contract. It depends on the conditions of contract, and so then that is, I think, so then arguable in two sides. So then one way, so then if 25% or 20%, as I remember, right? So then there even the if from our side, the employer side, so then if you are going to reduce the scope, so then again there's, I think, the compensable 25 up to 25%.
Compensation,
Yes. So likewise, so then other side also same. So then if he has not done it, so then there's a the reduction for the contractor.
25 balance work 25%, no?
Yes, and then we have to take a decision how we are going to do that. Terminate it and do a proper evaluation, and then
Performance bond also need to be engaged, no?
forfeited. Yes, that is obvious, no? In the termination, so then the first step
Yes.
is going to be that, no? I didn't take up tell about that. That's normal, right? That's why we are taking the performance guarantee. No?
Yeah.
That will be forfeited. Otherwise, no point of having a performance guarantee. And the always keep in mind to maintain the proper records on the performance guarantee. So what will happen when you need to
Expired.
do right? Then ultimately no one knows whether the performance guarantee has expired, right? Then contractor will be fly very soon. I have seen many times, right? So sometimes, so then people, the engineers has to go behind contractors. So then otherwise, so then they are in trouble, no, right? Before
For example, this is a one case after the intention to completion date. After 2 months, they terminated the contract. It is okay.
there is no legal
Contract period over. Yeah.
There is no contract.
Yeah, no contract. Then how do they terminate that?
What is the
They
organization?
charge the LD.
Mhm.
This is the one of the health department.
Mhm.
After 2 months, they terminated with
Hmm.
2 month LD charges, and
No,
they
that is
calculated the losses.
another way of terminating the contract. No, so then if a contract is not performing, so then LD, so then as I mentioned, so then LD can be calculated. So then that means so then contract has not completed the project even up to the end of the contract period, right?
Yes,
And then
yeah,
even after that, so then definitely, so then the client may be keeping on writing, and then start to impose LDs, right? So then after some time, so then up to the time of maximum LD, then unilaterally, so then client can take a decision because they have to do that, right? Right. So then automatically that will be terminated, and then they can go for
the
these.
termination should be in the intention. So termination should be in the completion date, or after that they can possible.
Date anyway. There is no extension. No? So then
Extension.
that means so then the contract was over on that date, but the
Yeah,
completion of this the calculation of LDs will take over beyond that.
yeah, that is
Yeah.
that's no problem.
Yeah.
But my question is the termination validity. Just say 31st of December,
I understand. Yes.
contract over. Then February 28th, March, say to 2nd or somewhere, they terminated the
You
contract.
can't mention that after 31st of, so then that means automatically you are given an extension, isn't it? Date of termination in March means
Yeah.
that or
Until
given
that, we accepted the period, no contract period.
unintentionally we have given extension, isn't it? Right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Unintentionally we have given an extension. So in between that also then contractor should have come forward and then start to work, and so then there was a flexibility. Right.
Yes.
Where are you working, Mr. Loganathan?
Health department, sir.
Health department. You are an engineer.
No, I am a chief accountant.
Chief accountant. So then I didn't know that who are the audience. Are there the now I know that Ms. Loganathan is accountant, and are there engineers here or any quantity surveyors? So then I got one person from abroad. It's a quantity survey somebody. All are public officers, isn't it? Should be.
Or some.
Yes, sir. I am engineer.
Samira.
Sanjeev,
Sanjeev. Okay. From where are you?
Sri Lanka Ports Authority.
Ports Authority. Okay. Ports Authority students were there when I was doing lectures in SIDA. Actually, that we did high national diploma in procurement, myself and Surya Bandar, but they did not continue that. That was a very good course, actually. We continued, but after that, they stopped it. That was somewhere 2020-22. We continually do that. All right, thank you very much for listening, and then we will see. I think you grab something to manage contract and variations and basic things in contract administration plan. Let's see to meet again if there will be an opportunity for me to come and talk. Right. All the very best and good luck.
Thank you,
Bye.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.